Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of On the Road with the Fish Guy. Alright, today's topic is a little bit controversial. I say controversial because there are so many diehard folks out there that like this piece of equipment. I know that I'm gonna upset a few of them. So, well, here we go. Refugiums. Hey, so everybody and their brother seems to love the concept of refugiums. And I'll agree, as a concept, it sounds really good, right? What's not to like? You have a small tank or a small portion of your sump plumbed in line to your system. You grow macroalgae, and these macroalgae in turn will remove waste, like basically you're feeding them fertilizer, so nitrates and phosphates, and you'll have a cleaner tank for it. It's also a wonderful breeding ground for all sorts of little critters and copepods and amphipods and everything, all the little guys. It's a great safe haven for them, and they grow down there, and then they find their way back in the main tank. Okay, as a concept, great. In practice, what people actually do, as in how big, how it's plumbed in, etc., they're not doing it right. Just cut and dry, you're doing it wrong. So why is that? Why do I think that? Well, the volume. People will do 5 gallons or less of a refugium in a 75-gallon tank. And if you have a heavier bioload, lots of fish, you feed well, that little 5 gallons of macroalgae isn't going to do anything. It's going to do something, but it's not going to do enough of what you're expecting it to do. So there's problem number one. They're just simply not big enough. Problem number two, how they're plumbed in and designed. I see a lot of sumps these days that are refugium sumps. So you have the center chamber that's in line, and that's your little 5 gallons worth of space. That's where you put your macro. It's got a little light on it. Why is that a problem? Okay. So even though it's post-mechanical filtration more often than not, so after your filter socks, we all know our filter socks overflow, and then you get detritus and waste and bits and pieces that go beyond, and they end up in the second or third chambers of your skimmer. So why is this a problem? Well, usually in these refugium sections, you run a sand bed. And in a previous video, let's call it right down here, I'll put a link to it, I talked about sand beds and my opinions on sand beds and what can go wrong with sand beds. So same concept applies in a refugium section. Waste and detritus go in, they go down into the sand bed, and then you get that wonderful mud brick thing going on, and it's nothing but organics and waste and nastiness that goes down there. And yes, the macroalgae is supposed to be pulling it out, but stuff is going in faster than the macros can process, so then it turns into just a little cesspool. And all that, when it reaches the boiling point of it can't take any more, it starts flowing back into the main system. So then the wonderful concept of a refugium gets flipped around, and it's actually making issues. So how you plumb it in line, or where you plumb it, is the concern. So I do not like these refugium sumps because it does not give you the flexibility to decide where the water gets pulled from that's being put into the refugium. So what's proper? Okay, if you have to do a refugium, bigger, okay? If you have a larger tank, you need a larger refugium. So do you even have the space for it to get from the get-go? If you have a sump room that you can put a larger tank, great. That right there, that's where you should put it. And it should be getting water from your return pump. So your return pump or another pump in the return pump section of your sump should be what's feeding your refugium. And that's because that's going to be the cleanest water that you have anywhere in your system, free of detritus, in theory, free of any solid organics, and it's just water. It's post-skimmer, post-filter media, bubble foam bricks, anything you have, it's after all of that. So it's theoretically only getting just water. So that should be where you're pulling water from. And then the output from it can go back into the sump. In a perfect world, it would be above your main tank and gravity fed back to your main tank, so all the little critters and everything else can just fall into the tank. Well, most people don't have that ability, so back into the sump it goes. So bigger and then plumbed properly if you're going to do it. Beyond that, though, do I recommend them? No. I feel that GFO for phosphate removal and biopellets for nitrate removal is a more efficient use of space, less maintenance, less work, and it's more consistent. You know that it's just going to pull everything out. If you have an issue with your macroalgae and you lose some of it, or you pull out a bunch and then you only leave a small ball, that small ball has different waste removal properties than the large clump. So that all of a sudden is going to shift the dynamic in the tank. So I don't recommend them, but if you're going to do them properly. And ideally you'll go with GFO and a biopellet reactor and just save yourself the hassle. Anyway, thanks for listening today, guys. Give us a subscribe. Click on the little fish guy logo up here. And hey, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one.